agents, yeah. I mean, obviously, poets don't need agents. That's something that would be an amateur. Yeah, that would be a sure sign of
an agent
for a novel.
You don't need an agent as a poet, and you don't need an art agent as a short story writer. You should go straight to the small presses, of which there are many wonderful ones.
And some of them win the big awards and have big sales.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
Maybe there's probably some poets that have agents, but it's because they're famous and they have everybody wants them and they can't manage their own affairs anymore. They have to have someone.
W.S. Merwin needs an agent because too many people want a piece of that guy.
Right.
There's all these royalties concerns to deal with, and why does he just wants to write poems.
But none of us is there yet, so don't worry.
But what I will say though is, I mean, my work is my novel is somewhat experimental. It's working with 3 different voices, and it's a modern day retelling of the sort of Odyssey, which sounds, but it's mainly through Penelope's voice, who's actually called Ella. You don't even need to know that, but it's such a, because the angle is quite different. And I've got prose poems about the body, some of which have been finalists in places like Mid-American Review's Fine Line Competition. Well, that's a pretty experimental competition, and my work is experimental. This agent that I talked to loved the prose poems, and my greatest fear was that an agent, and it's still my fear, that an agent will tell me, yeah, we like your work, but let's rip out all those prose poems.
Yeah.
But I'm going to resist that, and if that is the case, I will go to a small press. So, you know, they are looking for certain things.
Oh,
but
sure.
Agents they all have different tastes too, and in fact, I did a search for agents that accept women's experimental fiction. So I did a very specific search too, to make sure that I was targeting the sort of people who might like my work.
Yeah.
But you are right, generally the agents want big sellers. And you've got to show that you know the market so well, because I know my work's experimental, but I truly believe in its commercial possibilities. And there's sort of, the other thing I sold, sort of through the query letter was the fact that they're almost the kind of sound bites. They're almost short stories within this narrative arc. And I said that the modern reader would like, those sort of short tastes of the narrative. I hope I'm right, but you've got to sell your work and know that if your work is difficult to sell, you better, create a marketing pitch and at least hope to get in the door. The fact that I've had agents read the whole thing is a miracle, I'll be honest. And I will tell you that straight up, that it is hard work. And just getting in the door to have have anyone look at your work is tough. So, and I'm not there yet. I mean, I have agents interested, and I'm fingers crossed something will happen soon. But it's a tough world, even if you have a pretty high quality product that you've been working on for a long time.
Well, what about, I am an art instructor, and I have an awful lot of students, actually, that come, and they want to, they're writing children's books with illustrations. And so, we haven't really touched on that. I don't know if you guys, know about that kind of thing, but, do they submit it as just a written manuscript first, and then, somebody else comes up with the artist? What if they want to do the art? Agents, I've just got like a million questions just about that whole.
But just about children's books, because children's books are a particular special entity of their own.
And do they fall into what we're talking about?
We realizing that's a specific thing. Highland Park Poetry and East on Central are interested in doing another program like this, but specifically addressing children's books. Because you're right, there are many people.
I just get so many people coming with like all these questions that we're talking about tonight.
Right.
I would say really quickly though, to that point, we do trade shows with a lot of children's book publishers, and some really good ones, in fact, that win the awards and have some of the big sellers. And I do hear them talking and hear what they say, even though we haven't done a children's book. A lot, it's interesting. A lot of people think they have a children's book, but there's no joy in the language, or it's not specific, or there's nothing memorable. I think the writing is very important, even if it's not a chapter book, even if it's only a brief little thing, maybe a 50 words altogether. Thinking about the books that we like to read to our kids and the books our kids like, they typically have something there. There's an energy, there's sort of a joy. second thing is a lot of places will just want to see the manuscript because they work with their own artists. So what might actually be better, honestly, for your students would be for them to put together a portfolio of illustrations they think would work for children's books, possibly paired with some language, I don't know.
Well, often they're
Start
writers
to-
also.
Start to query publishers saying, I do illustration work, here are some samples of stories I have that are illustrated, here's some samples of illustrations, maybe do some illustrations for stories that are out there that could be like alternate versions or something, you know, like the old script treatment you do in television, and start querying those publishers and see if there's interest. Because they often are looking for talented designers and
So you're saying hit it two ways. You're saying
Yeah.
hit it as an illustrator completely separately from hitting it with the
To
manuscript.
some extent, yes, because it might also be the case that they may take the story and say, well, we can't use these illustrations, we're gonna have like Jane, you know, our girl do the illustrations for
And
this.
some agents will, there are agents who specialize.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And they
For
will
sure.
say whether they want, that you can sell it as a package.
Yeah,
the-
for sure.
The illustrator with the writer. It's a
Some of the
hot
most famous
market.
books are that way,
Yeah,
right? I mean, the whole
yeah.
thing comes in and they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. you
Yeah.
know?
It's
Yeah.
true, and it's a hot market, but it is even apparently more tough to break into than just the regular adult fiction market, because so many parents have stories that they have
Yes.
told their children over the years, and they're worthwhile stories, but because there's so many out there, your work really needs to shine. It needs to have something different and really needs to be, again, plugged into the right agent, and you'll have
And
to
I
get
think in that
agents.
case, you probably wouldn't have an agent.
Yeah, almost certainly. This actually makes me think of something I was going to say earlier during the sort of don'ts
Okay.
section. And I think this would apply to children's books, but really any books. And that is, don't chase the market. If vampire books are hot today and you spend the next year and a half writing one,
Yeah.
and then you find an agent 6 months after that, and then the agent sends it out and whatever, you know, the odds of vampire books still being hot at that point, people have moved on to mermaids, you know, and so your vampire book now is out of step with the times. So, you know, you need, it should simply, you know, the answer isn't just add fangs, you know, if I just change this and add fangs, surely it'll get published, you know.
Penelope with
Yeah, right.
that.
Yeah, right. Maybe they're vampire Odysseans. I don't know, right? It's instead of an island of horses, they find an island of werewolves.
Yeah.
Woo! You know, yeah. I think like, yeah. I mean, I'm down for any kind of editing feedback. You know, my fees are modest. Give me some pizza rolls and we can talk. No, but you can't chase the market like that. You know, you just can't. The market moves too quickly, and the odds of your piece being ready in time and out there in time for the market, it's so much of that is serendipity and just, you know, the kind of luck that you just simply never know. There's a reason that F. Scott Fitzgerald did it and Dos Passos didn't. You know, during their lives actually Dos Passos dwarfed him, but now no one knows that guy. You know, Fitzgerald's like getting a remake of his crap all the time. You know, it's like, you just, so much of it is luck, so you simply can't chase the market, you need strong work, and I think that's a big important piece of advice for both children's books or any books really.
Other questions? No more questions from the audience? Oh, wow, okay. Well then, let's, I want to thank you all for being on the panel. As I sort of gave a sneak preview, Highland Park Poetry and Easton Central are interested in doing similar programs like this. First of all, please, I hope that you'll come back if you are, and join us next on April 14th for the second part of this series, which is The Secrets of Self-Publishing. We'll have a whole series of new panelists and new discussion. And we are looking ahead to programs for 2016 about publishing, which would be including a panel on children's books, also possibly a panel on book marketing. And we are seriously interested in doing a self-published book fair. So we would like, hopefully you'll be inspired by this evening's presentation and then next week's presentation to go out and maybe self-publish a book, and then we'll have an opportunity to sell those next year. So I hope that you'll join us. But now, please join us. We'll have some relaxed one-on-one conversation. We do have some cookies and refreshments. And thank you so much for coming. Great. Thank you.
And thank you guys. You guys are a great audience.
Yes, I had to ask, you know. Yeah. Well, we're gonna get, I'm gonna
And I have my poetry collection too for 10.
And I'm hoping you all have cards.
Yes, February.
Good. Now, right, one is right here.
Sarah, hi, how are you? I'm fine.
Oh, I don't think it all still. I think the biggest thing with the memoir is just just simply having I do a class on
Thank you. The secrets of self-help.
So my appointment.
All right, excellent, excellent. So nice to meet you. Please don't know what things will be. Okay, all right. It was good. Thanks for coming, Joe. Good to meet you. Yeah, excellent. Thanks. And so good to see you. How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Hey, come back and meet the panelists. You know what? I thought of you because, I mean, I think like Curbside Publishing, you should check out some of their, I haven't thought of some. They're indie press, independent, small, right.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, I have.
We talked about that, where you've done something for me.
I'm wondering,
Yeah. And looking at the press, perhaps small press. Sorry, it was all that time before really personal. Oh yeah, for sure. Although it wasn't that interesting when you were talking about finding contemporary books that were, so instead of saying, oh, well, my work is like Hemingway or my work, but being able to say, this is like similar to these styles. Yeah. Jacob Knabb with the Curbside Splendor. They do memoir, essay, short story, novels, poetry. And CJ, he's publishing mostly poetry, but he's also been publishing prose.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be heading around.
Okay.
It was very interesting.
Oh, good.
A lot of talking about poetry.
I meant to poll the audience for the beginning. What? Yeah.
I know you can. I can see the guns there.
Oh,
I work for Caricature Room.
Right.
I know. We always see each other.
Yeah, the Romersdale, that's right. I'm always working there.
Oh, okay.
I worked the furniture room for them.
Okay.
You said you were going to poll about
But who was doing prose, who was doing prose, who was interested in poetry? It seemed like most of the poets were actually asking the questions at the end. So I was hoping that some of the prose, I tried to get all of them to concentrate on both.
It's fine. I picked up a few tips.
But I think certainly some of the rules that they were talking about in terms of manuscript preparation apply to both prose as well as poetry. Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh! I got it, yes. Thank you. Right. Do you want to dedicate it to you or just like my signature or do you want me to Karen. lot of the things about self-publishing are still gonna apply to the person, because you, the author, still have a responsibility to help push that title, you know, I mean, because that's what they're saying, you know, if you have a blog, or if you do social media, and a presence, right,
But the only thing
an
is,
audience.